Hey everybody, this is Andrew Levine. I'm back again at Washington Square Park. I realized there's something I have yet to discuss, which is Steemfest. For those of you on YouTube who haven't heard of Steem It yet, that's a social network that I post these videos on. It's made up of a specific demographic, like computer scientists, people who are into cryptocurrencies, technology, stuff like that. The social network is built on top of a blockchain, so it's got a heavy cryptocurrency focus. But the beauty of it being built on a blockchain is that you get cryptocurrencies as a reward for your posting, or you get a specific type of cryptocurrency called Steem as a reward for your post. That cryptocurrency is traded on exchanges, and so it has real value. Now lately, the value of that asset has cratered. It went from a high of $4 a token to the current, well, it went into the teens, now it's back up into the 20s. I still like Steem It because when I post these videos there, at least I get something for them. I'm not getting as much as I used to, but what you do get is a form of equity, like a long-term investment vehicle in the platform. And so temporary dips, assuming that this is a temporary dip, aren't really relevant. All that matters is whether the tokens go up in value in the future. And my belief is that based on the fundamentals of the platform, that the cryptocurrency will go up again. And so the rewards that I get for these posts will go up in the future. Even though I'm making them now, posting them now, and not receiving much in the present, I am getting these kind of shares. And if the shares go up in value, I'm still okay. And plus, I like the people on Steem It. I find that the engagement that I get is better. I like, they're more my type of people. And so in reality, just like most people on YouTube don't post for money, I still post on Steem It. I'm still going to post on Steem It even if the value goes down to zero, because I really like the people who are on there. And actually that reminds me of something I've been thinking about lately, which is is a potential killer app for Steem It. A lot of people don't realize this, maybe even people in Steem It management. They don't realize that the beauty of Steem It is that it proves that you can bootstrap a social network and attract a very specific community to it, and then provide that community with a very efficient economic system. Now, I know that sounds simplistic, stupid. My point is that that is the product that Steem It Inc. should be selling. They shouldn't be trying necessarily to get everybody to use Steem It just like everybody uses Facebook. Maybe they should be focusing on packaging a product that basically automates the process of creating Steem It clones so that any community can create their own Steem It and gain all the advantages that everyone on Steem It has. So for example, there's an economic case study where a group of families started a babysitting collective. The way the collective worked was people gave out vouchers. If you babysit for their kid for an hour, you would get an hour voucher from the person you were babysitting for, and vice versa. And so if you wanted to go away for a week, you would babysit, sufficient time to accumulate enough coupons. And then when the time came, you would use those coupons to get a babysitter for free, for no money. The reason why economists talk about this experiment is because it shows the importance of a currency in every single community. So what they were doing, they didn't realize it. They thought, this is simple. We just want to exchange babysitting time, so let's just create these vouchers. That is creating money. And what people don't realize is that when you create money, how you create it, how you set it up, can have profound impacts on the organization that you're creating, that you're using it for. And it doesn't matter whether you consciously realize that you're involved in an organization. And it doesn't matter if you consciously realize that what you're doing is creating money. when you do something like this, you're creating an organization and you're creating money. And if it's poorly designed money, the organization is going to fall apart. And that's exactly what happens with these babysitting co-ops. First, it experienced deflation. It experienced a depression. People started hoarding coupons. Nobody was using the service, defeated the purpose. At first, the lawyers had their way. The lawyers tried to regulate people into acting right. And so they instituted policies where people had to babysit once a week, or people had to, get a babysitter once a week. That failed. Eventually, the economists won out. They printed more coupons. They prevented the deflation, and they solved the problem. And so the moral of that story is that, the economists solved the problem. That's not true, because eventually inflation destroyed the co-op after the economists had their way with it. So the real lesson is that a poorly designed monetary system is going to destroy an organization, either through inflation or through deflation. And so imagine now that those same exact people, the people trying to create the babysitting co-op, signed onto the internet, hit a button that said, "Create my community." That created a Steemit clone built on a sidechain, so it still creates demand for Steem, but allows them to use their own currency, their own long-term investment vehicle like Steem Power. But it's called something like Babysitting Co-op. And everybody who's interested in participating goes there and starts posting articles and starts talking about what they're going to do and start building up the value of the underlying crypto by using babysitter dollars as a way of exchanging babysitting time. In other words, it's a prepackaged, good monetary system based on my earlier assumptions, right? The thing that broke the babysitting co-op was the bad monetary system. Create a good monetary system, give them a good monetary system, then it logically follows that if they'd had that, not only would it still be around, but it would have grown. Who knows how big it could have become? Who knows how much wealth that could have created? Who knows how many lives that could have made easier? And all of those people who had participated in growing that enterprise would have equity in it because it would be built on a monetary system identical to Steem. That is the killer app, not Steemit. Steemit can simultaneously pursue a strategy of trying to bring as many communities into Steemit.com as possible, but it can simultaneously build this other product line and try to build them to converge on one another. But this way, if this doesn't work and this works, then we're good. It's a diversified strategy, but creating a turnkey solution for creating a Steemit clone doesn't seem that hard to me. It doesn't seem like it would consume a meaningful amount of resources. And so that's why I think that could be the real killer app for Steem, prepackaging Steemit for other communities. All right, that went on a bit longer than anticipated, so I'm going to try to wrap it up quick here. Wanted to mention to all of the Steemit users out there that I'm going to Steemfest. For those who don't know, Steemfest is a festival happening in next Friday already. My God, I can't believe it. A bunch of Steemit users are going to gather in Amsterdam. I don't know if I mentioned that. They have lots of workshops and stuff. I don't know. I've never really been to a fest before, so I'm just kind of going and I'm prepared to be surprised and entertained. I don't really know what I'm doing. By the way, if we've interacted on Steemit, if you think of me as somebody you like or are interested in hanging out with, feel free to reach out to me on Rocket, because I have no plans. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've already been to Amsterdam 2 or 3 times. I love it there. So I've already seen a lot that's there to see, so that's why I don't really have any specific plans. I do have an exciting announcement about Steemfest, but It's going to have to be a surprise. It's a little too soon. It's not a big deal. It's cool for me. It's an exciting thing. I think people who have been following me for a while will be pleasantly surprised. But that's all I can say right now. I just have some I think good news about Steemfest. Oh, also, last thing, should be publishing an article tomorrow. I'll probably just post it along with this video, so, you know. It's about global warming. I didn't mean to write it. I didn't set out to write it. I was just surfing the web, and I came across an argument by Martin Armstrong I've heard him make before about the importance of taking into account the energy output of the sun. For some reason today, I decided to look into that avenue. What do climate scientists say about the output of the energy of the sun? Climate scientists have a lot to say about energy output of the sun and the role that it plays on Earth's climate. And so I decided to go through and look at a lot of the climate science literature, not from a perspective of these guys are wrong, this is bullshit. In fact, I lean much more the other way. I'm very concerned about global warming. And so I wanted to ask the question, well, this is so often put in a frame, this argument is so often framed as climate scientists versus climate skeptics. But that doesn't necessarily answer the question of what are the climate scientists saying? What if we go and look at what a lot of climate scientists are saying, forget the aggregate number, 97% of climate scientists agree that that global climate change is happening and human activities are impacting it. That doesn't tell you very much, believe it or not. And I wondered if going and looking at what climate scientists say, not about the controversy, but about the climate, if after looking at everything they say, I really come away with, oh, climate deniers are shitty, they suck, or am I going to come away with the conclusion, oh, this is definitely a problem, and we need to use the government to modify human behavior to prevent this? I'm open to that idea. But if you really think about it, it's highly unlikely that logically examining the various arguments that are out there from the legitimate sides of the scientific spectrum are going to necessarily lead to that specific conclusion. I don't know what conclusion I'm necessarily going to come to. Well, now I do because I wrote the article, but while I was writing it, my goal was not to support an agenda. It was to apply logic to the scientific arguments, not to question the science. I'm not a scientist. I'm certainly not a climate scientist. So I have to accept the climate scientists' science as true. But that doesn't mean you have to accept their logic. And so the goal was to look through all the arguments, accept their scientific arguments as true, but look at their logic and whether it's applied consistently and well. And it actually led me down a very interesting road that I think would be of interest to people who believe in man-made climate change as much as people who are skeptical of man-made climate change. I don't think I come down on, I don't think I'll end up where either of you expect. So hopefully you'll enjoy that. I'm happy with it came out. I'm happy with how it came out. It's a bit long, but there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of information, and it really flowed out of me. I mean, I was possessed for like 4 or 5 hours because I was really interested with what I was seeing. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. So I hope you guys like that. If you're going to Steemfest, I look forward to seeing you there. One last thing. This is an update about the ketogenic diet and being in ketosis. For those of you who joined the channel, about that. For those of you who don't know, I'm currently on the ketogenic diet by using exogenous ketones, supplements, and intermittent fasting as well as a ketogenic diet, I got into a state of ketosis, which is when your body uses fat for energy instead of sugar. Anyway, that's the short explanation of what I'm doing for those of you who are new. And the reason I'm doing this is for energy reasons. Your body basically runs differently on the different types of fuel, with sugar being a much more volatile energy source and fat being a much more seemingly stable energy source. And it also has cognitive effects and health effects. And so that's why I did it. I've now been on the diet for I think around a month. I've fallen out of ketosis twice. But the interesting thing about that was that I was able to quickly get back into it without suffering what's known as keto flu symptoms. They're kind of like withdrawal symptoms. You feel shitty when you go from sugar burning mode to fat burning mode because your body's biochemistry has to change. But I left ketosis. I had too much sugar one day. It's really hard to resist. It is so hard to stay on this diet. I mean, especially when you're like me, I love sugar, and it's everywhere. I mean, nothing shows you how dominant sugar is in our culture, in our civilization, than going on this diet. You see that everything is just made out of sugar. And that's not necessarily the way things are supposed to be. It's a cheap energy source. It's an economic issue, not necessarily a health issue. It's not that sugar is the best fuel for you, it's just that it's the most convenient for us in modern civilization. So I left ketosis, and then I had to use the supplements again for a couple of days, but it was even easier to get back into ketosis, and I didn't experience, meaning it took less time, and I didn't have any keto flu symptoms. I had to do that twice. Yeah, it wasn't a problem. Going in and out of ketosis so far doesn't seem to be much of a problem to me, except that it's expensive. And that's a big thing, because the supplements are $60 for 16 servings. It's a lot of money. And so in order to get into ketosis, that takes about three servings, 3 days worth. I take it in the morning, have bulletproof coffee, fast till dinner, repeat 2 days in a row, back in ketosis. The interesting thing is, though, that I think the real downside now is when I leave ketosis intentionally. Like what I did yesterday, was I wanted to cheat. It had been too long. I love ice cream. I love bread. I love this stuff. I decided to voluntarily just exit. I had a bunch of, I had a burger, I had fries, I had ice cream, I had licorice. I slept like garbage. I had nightmares, which I usually get, but I haven't been getting on ketosis. I woke up drenched in sweat, which usually happens to me, but hasn't been happening to me on ketosis. And I was sluggish all day, low energy. It was hard to get up. I was more tired when I got up, which was originally the reason why I wanted to experiment with the diet. Amazingly, this was a huge concern for me. I've always woken up tired, and I hate it. It's frustrating. It's awful. Since I've been on ketosis, I'm waking up early for no reason, with energy. I didn't know if it was placebo. I still don't. I don't know what the explanation for that is. People do report needing less sleep. Tim Ferriss mentioned it. But so that's happening. Not only that, but I started cold showering. I think what happens is, I think there's a couple of things at play. First of all, I feel better on the diet. I definitely think that's true. That could be a placebo effect. Moving on, I feel more in control of my life because I'm controlling what I eat extremely diligently, because I have to in order to maintain this state. And that makes me more eager to take control over other parts of my life. So, I'm doing something that feels so hard that it opened up the possibility of taking freezing cold showers. I take freezing cold showers regularly now. It is brutal. It hurts a lot. But if you stick through it just for a few seconds, it's exhilarating and you feel energized and awake afterwards. And that feeling combined with the state of ketosis is amazing. And when I've gone off now and gone back into eating sugar, and my body, your body flips your body flips quickly into sugar burning mode. It flips slowly into fat burning mode. So it's easy to get back into sugar burning mode, hard to get back into fat burning mode. And so once it makes that switch, I feel worse. Your energy levels are up and down. You have sugar in your coffee, you have bread with breakfast, you feel energized, and then you crash. I wake up, I have strong coffee with pure butter in it, and I am just a line throughout the day, to the point where I get to sleeping time. I get to bedtime, and I'm just like, this seems like a good time to go to bed. I'm not like, oh, I'm exhausted, oh, I'm so burnt, but it's time to go to bed. I go into the bedroom, and I go to sleep. It's a much different lifestyle than I had before, and I think I'm going to try to stick with it. I mean, it's really hard because the diet is so restrictive, and I love candy so much, and I dislike vegetables so much, but the way that I feel is definitely better, and I highly recommend people check it out, because I suspect it is a much healthier and a much better way to live. It's already being used for psychological effects, for psychiatric effects, for stabilizing your neurochemistry in the case of people who are bipolar, and for retarding the growth of the progression of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. The scientific knowledge combined with the feeling of my state tells me that I at least want being in this state to be a big part of my life. One thing I'm open to is doing a month on, a month off. The issue is really just satisfying those cravings for sugar and whether I can do it while staying in ketosis. But if it wasn't for that, I would definitely pick this state over others. Honestly, I think the fact that our society is totally oriented around the sugar-based diet makes it really hard for people. That's nobody's fault. That's just the way things are. But if it wasn't, I'd be like this all the time. It's great, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. All right, it's getting pretty windy out here, so I think I'm going to call it a night, and see you guys soon.